Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Emmanuel Cyprian from Tech Consulting. In this video, I want to explain or share with you how to obtain a security clearance. This will be the part one. There will be two sessions for that. How to obtain a security clearance. So we'll be going over these 9 steps on how to obtain security clearance. Now, step number 1 is determine if you need a security clearance. So what do I mean by that? Security clearance are usually required for jobs that are, federal government agencies, that is Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and Health, Labor, Commerce. Yeah, so any job that is within the federal government agencies may require a security clearance. And then 2, government contractors and DoD contractors also will require you to have a security clearance. So if you are being hired by government contractors or Department of Defense contractors, that particular job might require you to have a security clearance. And then number 3 is that positions involving access to classified information or sensitive facilities, if the position they want to hire you for, is going to involve you having access to classified information, or is going to involve you entering into some sensitive facilities and locations, now security clearance may be required of you. So that is how you determine if you need a security clearance. Now, the government agencies you'll be working with, the defense contractors or government contractors, and then your access to sensitive, areas or facilities and classified information, these are the determining factor, of whether you need a security clearance or not. So in your transitioning to cybersecurity or IT role or any role, now, if that's role, if you will be working with any of these 3, involves with any of the 3, then security clearance will be needed. So that's step 1, a determination if your security clearance is needed. Step 2 is what? You have to be hired or sponsored by a government agency or contractor. What do I mean by that? Now, you cannot sponsor yourself to get a security clearance. You have to get a job offer. Now, employer, that is either the government agency or the contractor that requires you to have security clearance, will be the one to submit a request for you to obtain one. So sponsorship, you cannot initiate a security clearance process unless you are sponsored by a company or government agencies. They will indicate what level of clearance is needed for your role. So which means you cannot initiate to have a security clearance for yourself by yourself. It has to be tied to a job offer or a job role. And that job role, the sponsors or your employer, your potential employers will be the one to sponsor you, submit a request that, yeah, this person will be needing a security clearance because he will be accessing classified information or will be in sensitive locations. So it is your employer, potential employer, that will sponsor you for security clearance. You cannot sponsor yourself. So that is step number 2 that you need to be aware of, how to get security clearance. And then step number 3 is that you also need to understand the level of security clearance. So your sponsor will be the one to determine which level of clearance you will be needing. There are different levels of security clearance, each granting access to different level of classified informations. Now, we have different levels. The first one is the confidential clearance, which is the lowest level. Under that is where we have the public trust. So access to information that could cause damage to national security if disclosed. So that is the least level of security clearance, which is called a confidential clearance, and public trust clearance falls under this. And then the second level of clearance is the secret clearance, which means that access to information that will cause serious damage to national security if disclosed. So which means that with this level of clearance, if you disclose those level of, it will grant you access to information that if disclosed will cause, serious damage to national security. So that is secret clearance. And then there is the top secret clearance. The top secret clearance means that with this level of clearance, it grants you access to information that if that information is disclosed, it will cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. So, and then there is the other one, which is the top secret / sensitive compartmented information. So this clearance, which grant access to particularly sensitive information. So these are the different level of security clearance. Let me mention them again. The confidential level of security clearance, that is where we have the public trust information, we have the secret level clearance, and then we have top secret clearance, and then top secret with sensitive compartmented information. So these are the level of clearance that we have out there. However, your job role or access to sensitive information or sensitive environment to determine the level of clearance that your sponsor will request of you. Now, step number 4 is you have to complete the SF86 form, which is a security questionnaire, SF86 form. Now, the SF86 form, what is SF? Standard Form 86. The clearance process begins with filling out these forms and a comprehensive questionnaire it's a comprehensive questionnaire about your person, your profession, and your financial history. Now, let us look at what is needed or what will you find in this SF86 form. Now, the form will ask you about your employment history. Depending on the level of clearance, it could be 10 years employment history or 7 years employment history. If it is top secret clearance, it will require you to provide 10 years employment history. If it is secret clearance, it will require you to provide 7 years employment history. Why? The US government wants to know where you have schooled, that is where you have worked, the places where you have worked. Now, in filling out your employment history, they will ask you about the employer, the address, your supervisor. They're not looking for HR to speak with. No, they want to speak with your direct supervisor, those that have worked with you, your co-workers. They want to know them. They want to speak with them so they can hear, they can know more about your persons, your personality, your character. So that is why they're asking for that, number of years of employment history. And you have to be truthful about it. And then another thing you will find in the SF86 form is your residential address. They will ask for your residential address for like 10 years where you have lived. So if you have lived in other countries and including in the US, you have to state it. And the address, you have to state it. In most cases, yes, they will go there to go and find out. US has embassies, everywhere. They might ask their embassy staff to go find out. So you've got to be truthful in places where you have lived. Why? Because they will investigate it. And then another thing you will find in the SF86 form is your foreign travels and contacts, the places where you have traveled to. And then the contacts, they want to know them. They want to know the cities you've traveled to, the countries you've traveled to, the date you traveled there, and who are those that you met there. For what purpose did you travel to those places? They want to know. So they want to be able to determine if you have met with foreign contacts or foreign agents that could, might want to lead down the road to either espionage. So they want to know that. They also want to know your financial history, which include your debts your bankruptcy. If you have filed for bankruptcy, they want to know that. Your debt, credit card, mortgage, medical debt, any debt, they want to know that. And then they want to know if there is any delinquencies, in your financial history. There is no problem having debt or bankruptcy or delinquencies. Now you've got to have tangible explanation why some of these debts are delinquent. You have to provide tangible explanation to give to them, the investigator. So they want to know. And the reason why they want to know your financial history is they want to know who you are. Will you be the kind of persons that if you are under financial pressure, you can sell anything to make money, including selling government information? Or you can be pressured to release government information in order for a tip or for a bribe or for espionage. So that's why they want to know your financial history. They will investigate it. So you've got to come clean while filling out this SF86 form. And then another thing you will find in the SF86 form is your criminal history. They want to know if it's applicable. Your criminal history, what you've been charged with, when you went to prison, if there is any, you've got to state it there. They want to know. Even if you don't state it, they will find out. So that's why you need to come clean. And also, you also need to include in that SF86 form your drug use, if any. If you use drug, what's it called, alcohol use, you've got to include it there. Now, in the US, we understand that majority of the states in the US has legalized marijuana. Yeah. However, at the federal level, that is still a banned substance. It's still a banned substance. So if you are planning to transition into federal government jobs, you've got to be familiar with this, that is a banned substance. At the time of you going through the security clearance, they will ask you this, and you'll probably go for what? Drug test. If they find that, that might hinder your drug, what's it called, your job offer. So they will ask you for that. And then they will also ask you for your educational, history, your educational qualification. Where did you school? What's the highest level of education? What did you obtain? Did you finish? Did you complete it? They will ask you all of that. So that is what is contained in the SF86 form. So be thorough and truthful in completing the SF86 form. A discrepancy or omission could delay or prevent clearance approval. So that is the step number 4 on how to obtain security clearance. Step number 5 is undergo a background investigation. So once the form has been, completed and submitted, the background investigation process will begin. And this could include the national agency check. The national agency check reviews record held by federal, state, and local agencies, including criminal record, credit report, and tax filing. So the national agency check will, they will do that. The investigator will go through that to check for your criminal record, your credit report, your tax filing. And then another thing that goes through under the investigation, background investigation, include interview with your references. So the investigator will interview your family, your friends, your neighbors, your employers, your co-workers to verify the information you've provided in that form. Remember, your address where you have lived, they ask you to provide it, which means they will want to investigate or interview your neighbors. Your employment history, they ask you to provide your 10 years employment history. So there is a possibility that they will interview your supervisor at work, your co-workers, even your family members too. They might interview them. And also during the background investigation, there will be a financial review, a review of your financial record, including your debt, your bankruptcy, or delinquencies, to assess any vulnerabilities to coercion or bribery. I mentioned it earlier. They want to know, your financial history. They want to understand you. They want to be able to determine if you could be coerced or pressured to sell government information for bribe or for financial gain. They want to know that. So that's why they're asking you all of that information. And also during the background check, your foreign contact, the investigator will review any relationship with foreign national to assess potential risk of espionage or divided loyalty. So these are the things that goes on during the background investigation. However, when it comes to top secret and the SCI, clearance, a more in-depth, even a lie, they might even use a lie detector during that case. I don't know if that still happens, So a more in-depth investigation will be conducted, including in-person interviews with the investigator, if it's, for the top secret and the SCI security clearance. So that is number 5 step. Number 6 step is what? Participate in security clearance interviews. So for higher level of clearance, that is the top secret, you may be required to participate in an interview with a government investigator. And then during this interview, you may be asked to elaborate on information provided in the SF86 form and clarify any area of concern. If maybe your financial record, your criminal history, foreign contacts, employment history, if there's any area of concern, they might ask you to clarify it. So that is, you participating in security clearance interview if it is required. And then step number 7 is adjudication process. Adjudication process. Now, adjudication process means that after the investigation is completed, your file will be sent to an adjudicator who will evaluate whether you meet the standard for security clearance. The adjudicator considers some factors. What are the factors that the adjudicator considers? 1, your loyalty to the US. They want to know if you will be loyal to the US and the US government. So the adjudicator will review all those information to determine if you have loyalty to the US. 2, the adjudicator will also want to consider the factor, your trustworthiness. Were you able to complete the form truthfully? Did you provide every information truthfully? And then the adjudicator will also consider your financial responsibility, your debt. Are you meeting your obligation in paying back your debts? All of that, because they will pull your financial record. And then they will also consider your criminal activities. They will consider your drug use and alcohol abuse. And then they will also consider any foreign contact or interest. So these are the factors that the adjudicator will consider to determine if you are eligible for security clearance. And then step number 8 is you will receive a security clearance decision. Now, security clearance decision could be 3. 1, granted. That means that you have been granted security clearance and you can begin your work immediately, or your project, you can resume work immediately. So that is granted. 2, it could also mean denied. If the adjudicator identifies significant concern, which could be either criminal history, foreign influence, financial instability, you may be denied security clearance. And then number 3, potential outcome for security clearance decision could be interim clearance. Sometimes an interim clearance is granted while the full background investigation is still ongoing, so as to allow you to begin work immediately. So these are the 3 different outcomes to security clearance decision: granted or denied or interim clearance. And then step number 9, which is the last one, is what? Maintaining security clearance. You've got to maintain your security clearance. It means that reinvestigation is part of maintaining security clearance. Once you have a clearance, it must be periodically reinvestigated. That is every 5 years for top secret clearance and every 10 years for secret clearance. And then also, how do you maintain your security clearance? Reporting obligations. You are required to report significant changes in your personal circumstances, such as foreign travel, new financial obligation, or a change in personal relationship which might impact your clearance. So these are the 2 ways you can maintain your security clearance: reinvestigation every 10 years or every 5 years is applicable, and reporting your obligation. So these are the 9 steps on how to obtain a government security clearance. In the next video, I'll be sharing with you key factors that can affect clearance approval. Key factors that can affect clearance approval. I'll share it in the next video. Now, for this particular video, I'm just sharing with you the 9 steps on how to, obtain security clearance. If this video makes sense to you, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share this video, drop your comment if I've missed out any steps in how to obtain security clearance, and I will gladly respond back, to your chat. Thank you.